Hi everybody, my name is Scott Walls. For over 25 years, I've deployed ERP applications for some of the world's largest organizations. During that time, I've taught thousands of people just like you how to discover, use, deploy, and support Oracle's back office software. In this lesson, I'm going to walk you through what's called the Suppliers application. Please note that this lesson is part of the Suppliers course found within the Procurement functional area under the Discover menus. But before we get started, did you know that you could earn free Discovery badges for display on your LinkedIn profile just by watching videos like this one? You can. Stay until the end of this video and I'll show you how. Okay, so let's get started. Key topics for this lesson are as follows: seated users, navigation to this application, the application homepage, application transactions, and then finally, transactions search options, both basic and advanced. Lastly, it's worth noting that this is a Discover video, so it focuses on what a particular transaction or application does. If you want to learn how to use and or how to deploy this application, then watch the videos under those menus. Okay, so let's jump out of our PowerPoint into Fusion or Oracle Cloud. And you can see here, first up, seated user for this application. So we're logged into Calvin Roth. Calvin Roth is a very good user to use depending on what you're trying to do. I use Calvin, so if you want to create an application or like we're going through most of Procurement, I will use Calvin. However, it is worth noting that if you want to approve a supplier in the seated applications, then you probably want to use Meiji, as Meiji is what's called a supplier manager. She has the access to create the final approval for every supplier. That also applies to promotion, so that you can go from either supplier entry or registration through prospective into promoted into spend authorized. Okay, so that's a lot. Let's go ahead and now go to the second key topic, which was navigation for this application. So as you can see, we're on Calvin's homepage here. We'll select the Procurement functional area, and then underneath that, here we'll select the application called Supplier. That takes us to what is called the Supplier application homepage. So this looks a little bit different if you're used to seeing the transaction-based homepages. And so transaction-based homepages usually focuses on the transactions you created or that are in a status of this or that, or organizes them by dollars or buckets. What you can see here for a configuration value. Right, so there's two types of values in any application: transactions and the stuff or values we need to create them, which are setup or config values. That's what a supplier is. So you can see what it does is what you'll see in these types of pages. It'll show you different data values that need help, are incorrect, incomplete. And so you see spend authorization requests, supplier business classification. So if somebody has insurance that is expiring, something like that. And then supplier with incomplete setup, this is the same idea, right? And then obviously down here, some SCRs, supplier change request or profile change request. So that's when a supplier is outside, they make a change to their profile details. And so that doesn't just happen automatically, it needs to be approved. So that takes us through the first three: seated user, navigate to the application, and right here, the application homepage. So next, we'll scroll up a little bit and we want to take a second to talk about the transactions. So when you want to know the transactions or tasks that you can do, then you want to come over here to these menus. So you see that you have tasks that can be done, you can search, and then you have recent suppliers that you've worked with going in reverse order. It's pretty straightforward what you think it would be. And so once I get into the task panel, again, if you want to see more options, then log in as Meiji. But this is really just somebody who's a procurement manager, so he or she would have the ability to add suppliers. And so you see manage suppliers, register a supplier. This is if I wanted to register internally. For more on registration, go ahead and go to those videos. Create the supplier. So this is if I want to create them online. If I want to look at the reg requests, I can do that here, and then there's import and merge. Okay, so those are the different applications. If I actually, another way to do this is if I select here and I say, all right, now I'm in Manage Suppliers, I can register a supplier here. It's what's called an internal registration. I can also add a supplier this way. All right, so that's an easy way to create a supplier. So that's a little bit about the transactions, about how to do them. And then lastly, we want to talk about the transaction search options. So we have lots of suppliers out there. And so as always, we have two types of search. This is what we'll call our basic search. So put in a keyword, and this largely searches the name field or names. So there's also a shorter name as well as a longer name. So you can do that out of keywords here. Sometimes I do lease suppliers. So if I wanted to do that in search, that's one way. If I had several different suppliers and I wanted to slim that list down, I could use these fields on the top to slim down what gets returned here. Okay. If I felt like I wanted to see more columns, I can add columns out here. Now, sometimes I say, oh, well, this is great. I only want to search for, I'd like to only return the federal income tax type of whatever. And so when you want to do something where you want to slim down or filter your results, you'll want to head to the advanced search. We're looking at the basic right now. So I'll select advanced. One of the key things that you'll notice very quickly is that I have the ability to add any number of different fields. Here's my tax org type that we talked about. I could add that field. So there's tax org type. I obviously don't need to, but I could. And so then I can set this to be what have you, and it becomes yet another way that I can search or filter the suppliers that I want to return. I can remove that same field. If I also said, look, I only ever want to see corporations, I could just save this search, and then whatever I save it to, I can make it my default search inside here. So it's kind of nice. It also allows me to tailor via the advanced search what results get returned and how I see my data, as in this case, Calvin Roth. These searches are specific and saved for that user. Okay, so that's it. We've gone through the seated user. We talked about Meiji, Calvin. We talked about how to navigate this app. We looked at the homepage, talked about how it's different than a transactionally based homepage. We talked about application transactions, so both create, manage. We also talked about how to see the reg requests. We also showed where to request a reg request can be done for an internal supplier registration. And we showed the actual way to add a supplier. And then lastly, we talked here again about these different ways to customize the basic and advanced search. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you learned something. Thank you for watching.
Okay, as promised, here are the 5 steps you can perform today to start earning free badges for your LinkedIn profile. Step 1, navigate to Panameer.com and either sign in or join now. It's free. Step 2, in the upper left, under the Discover menu, select the course that you want to watch and get badged for. Step 3, watch all of the different video lessons in that course. Step 4, when it's complete, send your LinkedIn profile and the course you watched and your user ID to badges@Panameer.com. And then sit back and wait for Step 5 when we attach a badge to your LinkedIn profile.